So, I'm going to start this by doing what tons of people have been doing ever since the Parkland, Florida shooting. I'm going to make a knee-jerk statement about gun laws. And I'm doing that to prove a point. So here goes. I think every gun license should require the same things that a therapist license does: stringent background checks and liability insurance. The liability insurance premiums would be slightly higher for people with all those red flags: the mental illness, the priors, all that. I mean, if we don't trust someone to heal others without those things, we shouldn't trust someone to protect others without them either. There's your controversial statement to get you all distracted and angry. Don't pay attention to the real problems, just get mad and type things over and over. Go, my friends, fly, fly. Okay, are they gone? Are all the crazy people gone? Okay, good. So the rest of you, pay attention, because this video has nothing to do with gun laws, okay? This video is about distraction, okay? It's what happens when people would rather focus on something else because the truth is just too much. So I warn you, okay? If you'd rather not watch this one, I understand. People want to be distracted. Trigger warnings all over this thing, all right? Okay. Let's turn the clock back to December 2012. Sandy Hook. Tragedy. Children robbed of their young lives. So there was this church, right? A church in the city was hurrying up to prepare a service in remembrance of the students. And you could tell it was hurried because they asked this ex-Muslim pianist right here to help them out. So anyway, I performed for them, and afterward there's this speech. And the preacher guy has the nerve to tell the congregation that in times like these, it's best to come back to the Lord. And by the way, here's the collection plate. Now listen, I don't know if this guy wanted to use the tragedy as an excuse, or maybe he just wanted to keep people from despair and falling away from Jesus and going to hell. I don't know. Whatever his motivation is, I'll never know. But I was angry. I was furious because I'm thinking, how could I worship a God, even if I were a Christian right now? How could I worship a God who chose not to do anything? I mean, wasn't he as powerful as Satan was that particular day? Or did he let this happen because he thought that a 7-year-old getting shot in the head is the best way to bring an angel back to heaven? Really? Or maybe this is all Calvinistic fate. And some people are just destined to be ungodly murderers and crazy people who just hit their target all the time. I mean, what kind of almighty God is that? But see, it wasn't God that made me angry. It was the congregation. Because despite the madness of the whole thing, these people still accepted God. I mean, they stood up and they were testifying. They were talking about, well, give me the strength, God. Only you can do that for me. Are you serious? God called in a favor and needed a kindergarten to take the bullet? Really? And only God can help you? No, therapists can, support groups can, family, friends, co-workers can, community can. You don't need God to do that, especially not one who let this happen. People they're just afraid of death. That's it. That's the reason that people deal with this. Imagine that one of the teachers at Sandy Hook, imagine that one of them survived and maybe she's an atheist. Right? So she's thinking something like, my little student, he has no heaven. My adorable second grader will just get put in the ground, eaten by worms, and my killer will get no trial, nothing. That's too much to handle. People are desperate to believe that there's something else, that there has to be some reason. But they forget What happens if the second grader never got taught about Jesus? Maybe he or she is Jewish, or had an atheist family or something. And then the killer, what if he just repented before he died? Do they both go to heaven? Do they both go to hell? And if not, if like the kids never go to hell and he goes, then why do we ever send children to church? Have you ever thought about that? Like, shouldn't Jesus just reveal himself like Damascus style to all the children and let them make the choice before they get judged for their sins? I mean, it was good enough for Paul. Why not the kids? I mean, kids sometimes die. It's all a mess. People just want to be distracted. It's too much. They don't have time for all of that. And it's the fear of death that is exactly what fuels the suicide bombers too. I told you about the Qur'an and the Hadith collections talking about 70 family members you can bring to heaven if you martyr yourself, and you can kill non-believers whenever you want and all that. But here's what actually happens nowadays with the jihadists. Let me show you how distraction really causes a problem for young people. See, the Taliban and the Pakistani terrorists and ISIS, sometimes they just kidnap a bunch of kids. And sometimes they just fill them full of drugs and totally mess them up. But otherwise they just give them crazy propaganda. So the bigwigs, way up high, they say, oh, look at the news. You see the infidels in America and Europe, they're doing bad things, and Allah is great and we will be victorious. So anyone who's remotely questioning anything that we say, anything at all, anybody out there, wink, wink, you will all get it. You'll all get the mighty hand of Allah. Allah is great. So now you got the support of all the scared people who don't want to die, obviously. So they give their money to the collection plates. There's a certain amount of money that you have to give in order to give to so-called charity, you see. So, of course, some of that money gets funneled into a bunch of shady organizations who use it to fund a bunch of terror. So the kids, they get sucked in with all these videos. They get groomed into doing all kinds of awful things. I've seen 4-year-olds with guns in ISIS propaganda videos. Kids holding knives, reciting death threats. There are actually textbooks. This is real, okay? Google this. There are actually textbooks out there that use pictures of bombs with little clocks on them so kids can learn how to tell time. You don't have to believe me. Go Google it. It's there. Google it. CBS. Google it. Anyway, so the mothers of these kids, well, you'd wonder, why don't the mothers just go and call the police? Why don't they try to get well, you see, the mothers, this is how they kidnap the kids. They take all the mothers with the kids, and the mothers basically become the sex slaves of the people running the joint. So the kids barely even get to be raised by their own parents. So what happens with the mothers is they take them into a room. What did I say? I warned you. I warned you. You can always go to the comments section and talk about the Second Amendment if you want. I'm just telling you what's happening. Anyway, so skipping that part. The bigwigs, they pay all these proxy people to get the weapons, to teach in the crazy schools. They buy some drugs. They get all kinds of high on these weird amphetamine-looking things. It's crazy. They're living great. But the little jihadist kids, they grow up and they don't get any money. They're just told that it's good to die because Quran, Muhammad, Allah Akbar, blah, 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 blah. And as long as the public keeps quiet and stays distracted by all the nicey nice things in the scripture, all the parts that are in the first part of the book and not the last part talking about blow everybody up, they just sit there and hope for paradise and everything's going to be all right, you see. People want to be distracted. And then they're the SJWs. Now, you might think that this is crazy for me to do this. I know that people have been beaten up on SJWs a lot. Why am I bringing them up here? I'm not blaming the SJWs. I just want you to understand something, okay? And you make your own judgment. I'm just pointing out the dots. If you want to connect them, you connect them. Okay? So every time I bring up any of this stuff, I get the SJWs on Facebook and they want to talk about religion of peace. Islam is a religion of peace. Peace, 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 peace. Okay. Islam does not mean peace, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't. Just because Islam and salam, like salam alaikum, just because they sound similar, have a root word, don't get fooled by these people, okay? They don't mean peace. Muslims know this. Anyone who tells you that Islam comes from some word like Islam or something that means peace, they're either understandably confused, or they got lied to, or they're full of crap, all right? So anyway, the SJW thing kind of popped up quickly during the past decade, right? It just kind of exploded. It's so strange. All of a sudden, especially right after the Arab Spring. You remember the Arab Spring? You remember that? Back in like 2011, somewhere around there? Yeah. This big time where the social media was helping people have a voice against Islamists in the Middle East. You remember, right? Right after that, all of a sudden, we get all these SJWs in the news on these campuses pointing the finger toward all these people in the country about racism and sexism. Here's the thing, okay? About 17 American colleges for the past couple of decades have been given big donations by wealthy Arab entities. Big donations. We're talking billions of dollars. And just when the Arab Spring was starting to come up, and just when American feminists, these young, fresh-faced feminist young ladies, had a chance to make blogs and posts and videos welcoming the criticism of Islam in the Middle East, they were just starting to do that. They were just starting to give a voice to the silenced and abused women all over the world. All of a sudden, Islam wasn't the worst thing to hurt women anymore. Islam wasn't the worst anti-Semitic, racist thing that the world could ever produce right now. You know what it was? It was these white guys. These white broskies in college who rape women 63 times a day and hate black people and they want to kill everybody and they cause violence 1,000 times a minute. And all of these statistics started coming up. That's what we needed to know. Not Islam. No. American white men. They're so evil. Ooh. And so, obviously, there was an angry, indignant response to that statement, especially from the right wing and centrist folks. But what's the best way to discourage those people? Because we can't have those people rising up and being powerful. That would cause a rift. We can't have people getting empowered and saying, hey, how dare you talk about this? We need to be pointing to the Islam problem. We can't do that. So how can that get discouraged in the most appropriate way? The left is embroiled in all of this, I'm not a racist, I'm not a sexist stuff. So how can we get the right wing to be so discredited that no one in the world would want to listen to them? We need something so distracting, so foolish, so ignorant to represent the political right in America that any criticism of Islam on their part looks like the ramblings of some stupid, self-entitled, behind-the-times white guy who doesn't know any. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm not saying it's all a ruse. I am not saying that because it is not. I am saying people want to be distracted. They're afraid of facing the truth. They're afraid of death. They're afraid of doing anything except what is convenient and safe. And they will fight the safe things in their backyard rather than fight something overseas that might actually be a threat to women, a threat to freedom, a threat to people who are of a different ethnic group, a different religious sect. They are afraid. We are scared. Why do you think I'm sitting up here with no name and just a face on a screen. Why do you think I'm doing this? Because I'm scared just like you people. Trust me. But I can't be distracted. I can't help it. I've got a whole family that's been ruined by Islam. I know what this stuff is. I can't lie to myself. I hear the nonsense on TV from the left and the right, the left and the right, all the crap, all the stuff. This Second Amendment right. It's my right, your right, derp. I can't lie to myself. I can't. Because I know. I know what the threat is. It's really bad, people. Now, am I insane for drawing all these conclusions? I doubt it. I might be overreaching a little. But don't obey me. Don't believe some random figurehead who says what you want to hear. That's how we get distracted. Don't listen to me. Go search for this stuff. Go look up Taliban drugs kids or lion cubs of ISIS. Lion cubs, like baby cubs. Check that out. There's some videos you ain't gonna be distracted anymore. Jihadi sex slave mothers. Go look up Arab funding of universities. Anything that I've mentioned, go look this stuff up, okay? Because when people start yammering about somebody coming to take your guns, derp, or oh my God, the patriarchy is the worst thing to happen to women like forever. Oh my God. Whenever you hear that crap, right, just sit back, watch the show, enjoy yourself, stay calm. And whatever you do, do not be afraid of death. I mean, you don't have to like it, obviously. I'm just saying, don't let that make your decisions. That is the most abhorrent thing you can do to yourself. Okay? I told you a long time ago that the most devious lie, the most awful thing that you can tell a person is that one person is better or worse than another. But the worst thing you can do to yourself is to get yourself afraid of death. It's like my professor in college told me one time. I'll never forget it. If a powerful group of people can make you afraid of death, they can make you do whatever they want. That might sound like a blah statement, like duh. Really think about that. Who are the powerful groups in your life? What do they make you afraid of? What do they make you really afraid of? Don't distract yourself from that fear. Sit with it. Embrace it. Accept that it's natural. And know who it is that wants you to be afraid. Because I guarantee you, once you do, they'll never be able to distract you ever again.